It's Tim Albright with AVNation at ISE 2025 with Greg Barrebolt from HP Poly. You guys have a busy booth this year, sir.
We do.
And that's a good thing, right?
Hopping, yeah. Oh, great.
This week you announced a new Poly Studio. So talk about the V12.
We did, the Poly Studio V12. This device here.
Yep.
Designed for smaller spaces, 120-degree field of view, capture everybody in the room, zoom in right to their face, capture those little micro expressions as people are engaging in a conversation, and really create those authentic human connections again between people that are in the room and the people that are remote.
You said smaller rooms, so explain that to me, because when you guys talk about the studio line, right? You have several that physically are bigger, right?
That's right.
Cameras are bigger, the microphones are different. When you say smaller room, what does that mean to you?
So a small room would be one setup, sort of a little bit like this, maybe a little bigger, 2 to 4 people.
There we go.
And the interesting thing about a small room is you need a very wide field of view. So the hardware is quite different as you scale up. Larger rooms, you need more depth and capture people that are spread out a little more. So we have hardware for every space. So 32, 52, 72 is how we sort of create demarcation between room sizes.
Okay.
And then we have a V and an X series product for both. So an X series device is an appliance. It'll run Teams or Zoom or Google natively. V, like the V12, is meant as a USB peripheral. So that'll plug into a compute, maybe a G62 or a G9 Plus, and or your own laptop. So if you wanted to have a BYOD meeting, we can do that too. Yep.
You talked about the video. Talk about the audio though as well, because the microphones also have to be different.
For sure, yeah. You need greater depth, like drive audio deeper into the room, so you need bigger, louder speakers.
Yeah.
You also need to really pick up at greater depth from people in the room and normalize that for everywhere people may be seated. So the width and size of the bars really start to determine how far you can reach into that room and pick up video and audio.
Okay.
So.
Something that I use because I have a Poly product is Poly Studio, right? Now, what I use for my own personal devices are different. Is going to be different than what you guys have for these devices. Talk about that for a second.
So Poly Studio is kind of a name, our name for an experience, and we label those even internally based on whether they're an audio or a video experience. So Director AI is a good example. Director AI is creating a common AI framework that runs across every one of those devices I mentioned, so people have a consistent experience in all the different room sizes. But they have these amazing new AI enhancements. I can zoom into who the active speaker is and frame people really beautifully.
Through the software?
All through software,
okay.
Through AI running on the device itself. We can ignore posters on the wall that maybe somebody, brand photography in the company's boardrooms. We can ignore people that are walking by outside of a glass wall. Super hard problem.
Yeah.
We call that perimeter. And we can ignore people that are outside and really just focus the camera on the people seated inside that room. Very hard to differentiate, but that's what the AI is so good at.
All right, and so you have a new version of that for the V12 series.
We have a version that's updated all the time, but it runs across the entire portfolio, and that's super important because people don't want different things. They want to know how to use meeting rooms.
Same experience.
It doesn't matter if it's small, medium, or large. They want to know how to use the room. And so once you learn how to use an HP system, it doesn't matter what size room it is anymore, you have the same experience.
All right.
It's beautiful.
Something you guys also have is a piece of software that helps users manage and control things like this, PolyLens.
Right, PolyLens. PolyLens and PolyLens Pro for rooms. Both allows our IT pros, UC managers that are kind of managing their estate of conference rooms, have visibility into everything that's happening in that room. And now with PolyLens Pro for rooms, you can actually remote connect into the room, maybe fix an issue, maybe even just remote control the room for someone. Okay. But it gives us a sense of how healthy the rooms are and manage, deploy, configure, and make sure those rooms are up to date and healthy. It doesn't do anyone any good to walk into a conference room that's not functional.
No.
So PolyLens gives us that left to right insight of how all the rooms are performing and keeps everything online and working great.
And obviously, if you're on the network or you're just on your company's network, regardless of where you are in the country, you can still remote in and kind of manage those.
Absolutely, yeah. And for users on their own desktops, PolyLens there allows them to configure all of their peripherals, including like a Studio V12 when I walk into that room and BYOD, or my headsets and other devices as well.
Greg, somebody wants to find out more about HP Poly, how do they do that?
Well, if you're here, come by Hall 2 and check out the booth. If you're not, the newsroom on HP.com is a great place to start.
All right, Greg Barrebolt from HP Poly for us, for AVNation. Go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv, and follow along as we bring you more videos from the show floor of ISE 2025. All that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.